Committee. I am beyond excited that we have so many participants at tonight's event. We usually don't get this high of a turnout, and I am going to take that as a positive sign. It's always great to see some familiar last names. So I have a feeling I know who your students are, but if you get the chance or you feel comfortable, please share with us who you're supporting at Ridgewood. If you've never seen any of us before, let's give you a quick rundown on who we are. We are going to be your GCC team, and our goal really is to create a safe and enriching environment for all of our students. I'm Amanda Nolan. I've been a dedicated teacher of humanities for the last 10 years with Ridgewood. I've truly enjoyed my time there. And last year, I was called upon to help lead our school's equity and inclusion work. And it's been a really great transition, and I've really enjoyed meeting with students, helping teachers incorporate more equitable lesson plans, and making sure that we're meeting the needs of all of our students.
I'm Jen Snyder. I'm one of the social workers. I work with the sophomore and junior class, and I've been at Ridgewood. This is my 21st year. I know you're all shocked to hear me say that because I look like such a young spring chicken, but I have been around for a long time, and I'm very excited to be a part of this team and to have already so many involved family members. We're very excited to have you.
My name is Elizabeth Hansis, and I've been at Ridgewood. This is my 6th year here at Ridgewood High School, and I am enjoying this part of my career. This year I started with community outreach through Parent University, and then Amanda Nolan asked if I wanted to be a part of this GCC team, and I'm just really hopeful about all the resources and support that we can provide to our parents and community about equity and diversity.
Hello, my name is Megan Cantos, and I am a history teacher here at Ridgewood. I have been here for 20 years. This is my 20th year, and I teach with Amanda history, and we are teaching it different this year. And I'm excited to bring more diversity and more awareness to my classes, and excited that you guys are here to be a part of this.
And not on our slide, but here with us today is our principal, Gina Castellano. I'll let her give you a quick hello, and then I know she's just here to really support our great work.
Hello, everyone. I'm so excited that you joined us tonight. I know we're all very busy, and I really appreciate your involvement. It's really important to us to be able to include everyone in the work that we do at Ridgewood High School, and you as families and in the community. You're so important. So again, thank you. Welcome.
So we're going to ask you to get involved a little bit right now. And we're just going to ask a few questions and allow you to voice up and unmute yourselves for a moment. If you're more comfortable typing in the chat, you're more than welcome to do so. Or if you're just here to listen, we welcome that as well. But we're just going to ask 3 quick questions. So first, I call this a temperature check. Just how are you feeling? So for me, I'm always a nervous presenter. So I'm still trying to catch my breath before I get my feet underneath me. So my temperature check is just a little nervous. One thing, though, I am hoping to get out of this is to build better relationships with families and businesses and community stakeholders that want to be a part of equitable work in education. One thing that I am afraid of is that I don't want to even say it because I'm hoping that it won't be true, that we will lack enough support and commitment to these consistent meetings. But I have a feeling that we're going to be okay, but it's a fear. Anyone else want to check in and share where they're at with these 3 items?
I'm going to go while it's quiet in my background. So my temperature is excited. It's nice to be a part of a group of people who feel passionately about things that I'm also passionate about. So I'm happy to see everybody here. One thing that I'm hoping is that you'll enjoy this experience tonight so much that when you come back the next time, you will bring others with you. You'll spread the word that we have a good thing starting, and we'll get more people involved. And I'm always a little nervous when we start to talk about equity and diversity, inclusion kinds of things, that I will say or do the wrong thing, and it will be taken in a way that's hurtful to somebody. So I always, I want to make sure that I do right by everybody who is present tonight, and I'm only giving and not taking from people.
Thanks for sharing, Jen. Anyone else interested in sharing where they're at with these 3 items?
I'll share, Amanda.
Thank you.
My temperature check right now is I'm just excited as well, like Jen Snyder said, that there's so many people on the call, and that there's that means that this is important to the community, and that's just super helpful. And so I do hope that each of you parents that are on the call tonight will spread the word to your friends. In the next meeting we have, we'll double our numbers, which will be fantastic, and that we can just keep building the outreach to the community, because if we can get this thing going, good things will happen with it. And that's what I'm hoping for, is that we can continue to make changes that are going to help our student population as well as the community around Ridgewood. And I can't think of anything right now that I'm super afraid of.
Well, thank you so much for sharing. I'll leave a little bit of silence, 30 seconds, just in case anybody else wants to speak on any of these 3 items.
And feel free, if you are hesitant to say anything out loud, if you want to use the chat, you can always use the chat as well.
You can privately message one of us if you're more comfortable. And it's always okay to self-reflect too.
I know for me, just like my other fellow leaders said, I am excited about this as well. Like Jen used the word passionate. I'm hoping to find people who are passionate about this. This is something that I know we have all just really gotten behind, and it's something that, you know, we experience in our classrooms every day, really trying to instill this with our students and with our, you know, fellow teachers. And I guess I'm afraid that it's just not going to get the momentum that it needs and it deserves. And so I think that's what we're going to do. We're going to just push it and hope that we can get people with us, and, you know, more people pushing together is going to, you know, make something move. So.
Thanks, Meg. All right, so I will move on and we will talk a little bit more about what Global Community Committee is. And Jen's going to go ahead and explain that with us.
So the way that we talk about this is really sort of an intersection of key stakeholders that are part of the Ridgewood community. So obviously Ridgewood staff and our parents and guardians, and then sort of the Norwich Harwood Heights greater community, people who are connected to Ridgewood in whatever way. Maybe it's that they're a local business, or they've had kids go through our programs and have since graduated, or maybe they have kids on their way up and they want to get a feel for what Ridgewood is like. And our biggest focus is really on equity, diversity, and inclusion, right? We want to make sure that we are creating at Ridgewood a space that feels safe for all of our students and our staff and anybody who visits us in the building. And to do that, we want to be dedicated to anti-racism and equitable practices. And we want to center social justice and diversity kind of at the center of our work.
Awesome. Thanks, Jen.
Mm-hmm.
And then Meg's going to go ahead and share with us really quick just some missions that we've come up with that we're hoping next meeting we can build upon some of your ideology and add those ideas in this as well.
Okay, so the mission of Ridgewood High School focuses on learning. Students will become adaptable, lifelong learners and responsible, ethical citizens with the ability to make informed decisions in a changing global society. So for us, the key part of what we're doing here is this first mission of Ridgewood High School: responsible, ethical citizens who make informed decisions. The idea of creating students who will participate in our democracy, who are ethical and who understand that people are suffering. And this is the idea of bringing equality to our country. Students will demonstrate learning in multiple settings in multiple ways, and members of Ridgewood will collaborate to ensure that every student learns. And that's what we're trying to do: make our curriculum count for every single student.
Thanks, Meg. Was there a question? Are we? I think we're okay. Okay, we'll keep moving. Thanks, Meg. All right, so Beth is going to just tell us a little bit about how GCC works.
So actually, we're in step 1 right now, which is gather members that reflect our school community. So we're gathering tonight to start our GCC off. And obviously we want to keep gathering members as we continue on our journey. The step 2 is then to create a safe space for open dialogue, reflection, and a growth mindset. We really want to have conversations about how we can be more inclusive in our practices here at Ridgewood, as well as the equity and diversity that we're looking to, the insight that we're looking to gain from parents, community members in these issues. And then step 3 is to use the GCC voices to support all students at RHS and ensure that the school is equitable, diverse, and inclusive in the environment.
Great. Thanks, Beth.
So again, one of our goals is that anti-racism and equity kind of is at the center of our work. And this other piece that I love is this co-creation. The point of GCC is that we work together collaboratively to tackle some of these big issues that our kids are grappling with at this age and that our community is grappling with. And to do that in whatever way we find is the best in terms of our combined knowledge and our combined experience. So this wheel sort of just demonstrates there's a zillion different ways that we can work as a GCC and try to improve our community. And we might find within our group that some people are passionate about one approach while others are worried or more concerned about another approach. And that's okay. I mean, that's what we like, is that the strength of our group is that we have diversity and different interests and different strengths, and we'll rely on those things together as we move forward in our work.
Thank you. So why now? I always say, why not? There's no better time than the present. I've gotten much better over this last year than I think my previous 9 years of teaching and having difficult conversations with family, with friends, with coworkers, and with my students. Difficult conversations for me when I was younger and a little bit more immature always seemed to end in like a shouting or some type of argument, and maybe a friendship or relationship falling apart. Now I don't approach difficult conversations in that way. I look to make sure that I'm listening actively, and I'm not listening to respond, I'm listening to understand. And one of the things that I'm really working on with my students in history is doing the same. And 2020 has brought weeks or years of days worth of lessons that I still haven't really wrapped my head around how I'll teach this, next year or in 10 or 15 years. But I find myself quite often saying to students, you're living history. And I'm pausing my curriculum to help them digest some of the things that we're seeing in the news and allowing them to process the emotions that they're having as a result of these different events occurring. For example, the insurrection at the Capitol. Students had questions, students had emotions. And so it's up to us, the community stakeholders, you, the parents, you, the guardians, you, the business owners, you, the people who drive and walk the streets of Norridge and Harwood Heights, to help our students figure out their place in this world and create a safe, equitable, and diverse approach to their education that then correlates into their future, whether it be at a major university, a local community college, a trade school, a family, a relationship, their social media presence, a place where they feel like they can figure out who they are and then be proud of that at the next step outside of Ridgewood. And then lastly, I find myself reminding me quite a bit, this is my job. It's my job to educate students on contemporary issues and best prepare them for the real world, not the safe bubble that I sometimes try to protect them in. And I know as parents, as grandparents, aunts, uncles, community members, we always try to keep our kids safe. And there's that fine line we want to walk with them on teaching them and then allowing them to feel. And so I feel that this work will really help our students realize my community is a safe space, my school is a safe space, and my future will be safe if I take these lessons learned and I apply them.
Me again. So I will share that I am pretty new to the anti-racist endeavor, and it's a little embarrassing. I'm 46 years old, and this work really got started for me this summer. There was a kind of this intersection of the pandemic with the murder of George Floyd, and then some questions that my 8-year-old was asking just about the world that he was living in at that time and absorbing, and trying to figure out how to answer really tough questions and how to reassure him that we're safe and that that the world is not something that we should be afraid of. And I realized that I don't know what I'm doing. They don't give you a book for how to be a great parent. And so by coincidence got connected with a group of staff at his school, actually, who invited me to be a part of their GCC group, Global Community Committee. And I was able this summer to work really in depth with them. And we approached, these conversations and talking about how do we help our kids. And so from my own perspective as a parent, I've had the opportunity to be on the other side of the GCC. And I want to offer that same experience to the parents and in Ridgewood's community in Norridge and Harwood Heights. I think that parents, especially now, 9 months plus into a pandemic, know their kids better than anybody knows them, right? I mean, where else have you been except with your children this whole time? And I think that you are very familiar with the questions that they have, the challenges that they're wrestling with, the reactions that they're having to the news or the things that are on their scroll when they're going through their social media. And I think that our problem, with the way that we're doing learning right now is that there are more barriers than ever before between us and the kids. And so we need your support to try to figure out kind of where they are and how they're doing in the midst of all of this stuff. The other thing is that if there are ways that we can improve their school experience, we just need your feedback. I think have a bird's eye view to what happens at the end of the day. My kid will go and do his best effort during school. His teacher probably sees the best version of him. I see probably the best version of him. And I think that you guys are probably in that same boat, I would think. And we want to tap into that information that you could share with us so that we can do a better job for the kids at school. And like Meg said, in the end, we are hoping to launch them right out into adulthood, into whatever is next for them. And we need to know from you, what are the skills that they need in order to do that? And what kind of things can we teach them while we still have them at Ridgewood to help them be ready for the next stage of their life. So that's why I say that in my personal experience, having worked with my son's school and now translating this into Ridgewood, I think that parents are an essential, huge piece of this whole part of the puzzle as we move forward.
Thank you so much for sharing all that, Jen. All right, so Beth is going to walk you through, or Megan's going to walk you through our projected calendar and how often we want to meet because we know you're busy.
Okay, so today's our inaugural meeting. Welcome. And then the next meeting, we were thinking of March 25th and then May 27th. For like definite dates. The goal, right, is that we get the ball rolling, especially getting ready for the next school year. Summer, we think of doing some sort of summer workshop, right? Really kind of starting to prepare for the next school year. And then when we're back in school, September, having a back to school meeting and kind of setting our game plan for the school year. So yeah, we have another meeting on the agenda, so write it down.
Thanks, Meg. And then Beth is just going to go over some basic terminology that we pulled from a resource that has become very helpful for teachers at Ridgewood called the Racial Equity Tools database. So Beth is just going to walk you through 5 essential terms.
Yes, so as Amanda said, we pulled this from the racial equitytools.org if you're looking for it. And there's a bunch of terms on there, but these are going to be the 5 that we focus on. Equity refers to the fairness and justice and is distinguished from equality because equality means providing the same to all, but equity realizes that we're not all starting at the same spot. We are, like, our experiences are different, and so we acknowledge and we make adjustments to those imbalances, and that's what equity work is. Diversity is talking about all the ways that we're different from one another, and diversity could be used to talk about your age, your national origin, your religion, disability, sexual orientation, socioeconomic status, education, marital status, the languages used at the house, and the physical appearance. So it also involves different ideas, perspectives, and values. So all of those things create the diversity. And so that's another definition that we're going to use. Inclusion means authentically bringing together all these different groups of people into processes, activities, and decision-making policies where we all share the power. Social justice is a justice in terms of distribution of wealth, opportunities, privileges within a society. And then anti-racism, our 5th term that we want to go through, is just defined as the work of actively opposing racism by advocating for changes in political, economic, and social life.
Thanks, Beth.
You're welcome.
Okay, so having conversations on race has been a little bit more common in 2020, 21. However, they're not easy. And I know, Jen was brave enough to share, that she just got started with this work. And I feel like I came a little late to the game. I've always learned about different lessons regarding race. I've heard the words that can be very harmful and require healing. But this video that we're about to watch is very raw, very honest about how most white people feel about talking about race. Very appropriate ad. Wonderful. Hey, we need a little laugh, right?
It's very uncomfortable to talk about race. It's not something I do. I am feeling apprehensive because I think there's a lot of reasons why I feel like I should be able to talk about race.
I don't want to say anything, that would offend anyone. It's a very touchy subject. It's still difficult, even if you feel like you're on the right side of it, to have a dialogue about it.
Especially for white people, because we don't want to see if the racism that we may be holding on to.
I don't know. Maybe I am racist. I certainly don't like to think that I am. And I think that's too because the perception in this society, perception of a racist is a guy in a robe.
Now I understand that it's a system of advantages and disadvantages based on race. So as much as there's the disadvantage piece of it, there's the advantage piece of it, which is what I experience as a white person.
I want to bring up race, and I want to bring it up in a frame that helps my children think that there's no difference. But the mere fact that I might be bringing it up could suggest that there is a difference.
I remember asking a friend of my father's who's Black why he was called Black, because his skin was brown. And I've learned that lots of people that are white ask this question, and maybe they also received the answer that I got from my parents, which was like, oh my gosh, we're so sorry that she asked that, and it's just a term, like, move on.
One of my third grade students seemed pretty rocked after the Eric Garner case or death, and came up to me and said, why, when you were little, like, were you worried about this stuff too? And I knew what he was talking about before. I mean, I didn't say, what do you mean, what stuff? I didn't want to, play dumb. And I said, no, like, I didn't have to be, and that's not fair. And that was really hard because he just kind of sat there, and it honestly seemed like the first time that he had considered the fact that not everyone had to think about race all the time.
I know that I'm white, and I guess I'm part of that collection. But I don't think about being white. I don't.
I really did not know that I had a racial identity. I knew I was white. I had no idea what that meant, how that had shaped my outlook on life, how that had shaped my sense of optimism, sense of belonging, sense of safety, sense of feeling entitled to go help children that I thought were a part of a community that couldn't figure out how to help themselves.
I think that impulse, that kind of colorblindness impulse, comes mostly from white people. Like, I've never heard, I mean, I don't know. I'm sure it comes from all people of all kinds, but I've heard it most from white people who are saying, like, let's do this as a way of getting past this racism thing. And I think in part it comes from a sense of shame and guilt about what racism has done, and kind of how racism was built by white people.
I don't want to be ashamed of being, and plus I'm a male. It's like every group out there can be pissed off at me because I'm white and a male. And that's a weird kind of burden that some people do feel. And I certainly feel it sometimes from people that I'm privileged. I get stuff that other people don't get.
I think we're all implicated in a racist system, and I play my part in it as a white person. So I do have individual responsibility and accountability. I mean, I'm part of the system, and I do things that both perpetuate it, and I try to certainly do things that challenge it.
I realize I've never said anything. When I've heard racist jokes, when I've heard racist comments, I've never said anything. I've never spoken up and said, hey, that's racist. Not once.
In my mind, I'm not involved in any conflict that involves race. I've only been the beneficiary of it. So to talk about it is I don't think I would sound very wise.
Being white means that I have the privilege to think that I'm not affected by racism. Or that I don't even have a race, because I have all these other things like a gender and a sexual orientation, and those are pretty neat. So I don't have a race, but I do, and I'm white.
Okay, thank you for indulging me in that. And so these will be.
Can I just jump in one second?
Yeah, absolutely.
Sorry to interrupt. We didn't plan for this when we practiced earlier. I just put in the chat a link to the United Way of Illinois. This op-ed that came from the New York Times is actually a part of a series that the United Way of Illinois is sponsoring. And it's a 21-week equity challenge. It started last week on Monday. It is on Martin Luther King Jr. Day. It is not too late to join. And I will just tell you that each week they're going to send you an email. It's not like they're populating your inbox or spamming you or anything. It's one email and then one reminder. And you click the different topics as they come up. So we're in week 2 right now. And then it's a kind of a choose your own adventure approach to equity and sort of doing your own growth. And it's a 21-week challenge that will finish on Juneteenth. And so it's like a nice way to sort of stretch yourself during this time that we're still in pandemic and trying to figure out vaccinations and all this other stuff. And keep this top of mind. And I will say that the op-ed that we just showed you there, it was one of several that are available from different people of color perspectives. And so I would love for everybody to take a look at this because it's a really well done opportunity for people to do some self-learning if people are interested.
Thanks, Jen. And this has also been a catalyst for a lot of teachers who are beginning their journey on how to incorporate equity, diversity, and inclusion into their classroom in a way where if they feel like they lack the understanding and education and knowledge to make this work beneficial for students, this is a safe space for them to access resources because this is a challenge that has been approved by ISB, which we refer to as the Illinois State Board of Education. And being a public school, we have certain responsibilities to our students, to our state, to our constituents that we provide them with the education that's designed by the state of Illinois. And so this equity challenge has been honestly a saving grace for a lot of teachers that want to get involved, but don't necessarily know how to do it and are brave and want to jump in. And this has just been wonderful. I know last I checked about 30 or so teachers had joined the challenge, which is roughly half. And so what that tells me is half of your kids' teachers are making an absolute effort to include, if not more, a more equitable and inclusive educational system. So we're nearing the end. And one last thing I want to say is we won't just be talking about race. We will be talking about wealth inequality, religion, gender identity, sexual orientation. We have gotten to know our students very well this year in different ways because of online learning. And I know that there have been some negatives to the entire, stay-at-home order, but I will say for the first time in a long time, my students are really voicing up their opinions. They feel safe and they're sharing with us in different ways, whether through the chat, whether through Google Form, whether through Mind, their opinions and finding themselves and being more articulate about what they need. And so when we notice that they need something, we want this to be a brave space that we bring it back to where we can get contribution from community members on how we can support those students who are feeling like there's some type of shortcoming between achievement and success for them. So let me bring it back to you. We've done a ton of talking and I don't want to keep you much longer. So before you go, I would love to see if anyone would like to voice up and go through those same 3 questions we posed in the beginning. You know, where's your temperature at? My nerves are gone. I'm on the excitement boat. I feel like I'm a little bit reminded about why I love my job, because it's not just about teaching students, it's about getting to know families. And I'm really excited to get to know many of you. One thing I'm hoping for is that this is your first of many meetings, and that you will make the commitment to come back and help us do this really difficult but amazing work that I can tell you has been not only life-changing for me, but career-changing in a positive way. I feel like I'm really understanding what my students need this year more than ever before. One thing I'm afraid of is that you won't come back, but I have a feeling you will. So if anyone else wants to walk through those 3 questions, please feel comfortable turning up your mic or typing in the chat. All right. So before we end, we do meetings like this as teachers that are voluntary, but like I said, attendance has just been phenomenal. And we have all been really great about sharing resources. And over the summer, when we started meeting as a staff, one of the things that we watched together was 13th on Netflix, and it's free. Even if you don't have Netflix, you can click that link right there and you can watch the entire documentary. And it was able to give me the privacy that I needed to learn more information that I didn't know, process, talk it through with my husband, my family, my friends. And then I felt like I had a better understanding of how to talk about it with colleagues and students as well. And it gave me a bunch of knowledge that I wasn't prepared to consume, but I think it was very helpful in the direction I wanted to go in the equity and diversity role that I'm currently in. Some of us aren't movie people. Some of us need a screen break. I think Zoom fatigue is a real thing this year. And so if you're looking for a great book to read, Ibram X. Kendi wrote How to Be an Anti-Racist, and you can pick up a copy of that at our Eisenhower Library. And we also have it at our Ridgewood Library. If when your students come in the building, they can feel free to check that out, and you can perhaps read it as a family. And then lastly, if you're a big listener, I know my mom's always listening while she's cleaning the house. Gotta love her. We have the recommendation of the podcast, Nice White Parents, which is a digestible podcast that helps you work through some of the topics on race, equity, and inclusion. And is a fan favorite of this group, I will say. So maybe to yourself, you can think, yeah, I think I'll do one of these 3. And I recommend all 3 of these. We're going to give you recommendations every week. And I appreciate the comment in the chat. This has not gotten easier. I've been doing this Zoom stuff since March, and I feel like I'm always out of breath and I'm always forgetting to say something, and I'm hoping I'm not looking like a fool. So you're not alone. And thank you for being vulnerable enough to share that. And thank you for coming.
I would just add that when you find resources that you know will help us, please bring them back to us as a group as well. We are constantly building our resource library. So books, podcasts, movies, TV shows, whatever you've got for us, we'd love to have.
And I will leave you with this final thought before my girl Meg takes it away. If this is a place that you're coming for answers, we won't have them. We will have discussion, we will have dialogue, and we want to be pushed, and we hope that you feel that way as well. There are no answers to some of this work. It's really figuring out what a student needs and being as the most creative as we possibly can to provide them an experience linked to success and achievement. So thank you so much for your time. Meg, take it away.
Well, you're going to put in the chat, right? The Google form that they could fill out. So we need your information so we would be able to contact you with our next meeting. So Amanda's going to put it, there she goes. She put it in the chat. So if you could fill it out, and if you need your student to help you fill it out, we respect that. So it's just right here, just trying to get a little bit of information from you, and just to see if you'd like to be a part of us. And we appreciate you so much for coming, and we really hope we see you the next time.
Yes, thank you guys so much. And also feel free to fill this form out more than once. If you have a friend, a family member, a community member that you think would be a great fit for this. We don't have an age limit. We don't have a requirement, just that you consider yourself a stakeholder at Ridgewood, and this could be a place that you can share their name and we can reach out and see if they're interested in joining us. But I want to thank my co-presenters. What a team, right? Beth, Meg, Jen, Gina. I'll thank myself a little bit, working hard tonight. And we greatly appreciating you spend this extra time. We know we flood your inboxes with emails. We know that we ask a lot of you, but making the commitment tonight to help us with this has been truly remarkable. So thank you.